Thank you for those who are viewing this message. I'm Mayor Kieran McManus, and this is the State of the City Address for 2021. And this year will obviously be far different from last year. As with so many events over the past year, we are doing the State of the City Address virtually. Normally, this would be a time for many of us to gather and celebrate our great community. The COVID-19 pandemic has changed so many things for so many of us. Before I begin addressing the state of the city, I want to recognize the members of the City Council. Mayor Pro Tem James Howard Adams. James had planned a unique wedding for 2020 with his wife Svetlana, getting married at the Boulder Theater. As with so many others, their plans had to be changed due to the pandemic, but I do want to congratulate them on their wedding. James serves on the board of the Southern Nevada Health District, which has been front and center in the pandemic, and the Nevada League of Cities Board of Directors and the Municipal Pool Ad Hoc Committee. Councilmember Claudia Bridges, who represents Boulder City on the Nevada Public Agency Insurance Pool Board of Directors, the Public Compensation Trust, also known as Pool Pact. On the Southern Nevada Regional Planning Coalition, the Clark County Debt Management Board, and on the Southern Nevada Water Authority Board. Councilmember Tracy Folda, who serves on the Audit Committee, the Historic Preservation Ordinance Ad Hoc Committee, the Boulder City Education Advisory Board, and on the Nevada League of Cities Legislative Committee, where she is also the city's board alternate. And Councilmember Judy Hoskins, who serves also on the Audit Committee. She's also very involved in the Workforce Connections, where she is also a member of the Elected Official Consortium. We have lived a year that no one saw coming when I addressed our community a year ago. I had just recovered from a severe bout of the COVID-19 virus when I addressed the state of the city last January. At that time, the virus was not named and the impact it would have was not known. What I knew from my experience was that I had never been sicker in my life. It would not be many more weeks before the impact of the pandemic would become clear, and that impact has been devastating. It has been deadly, as we have lost 27 of our residents to the disease. Dozens have been hospitalized and hundreds have been sickened. More than 3,500 Nevadans have lost their life to this disease, and America has sustained the loss of nearly 400,000 people. Thousands more are dying each day. I would like to take a moment for each of us to recognize these losses. Thank you. The pandemic has imposed economic hardship as well. People have lost their jobs, lost hours, and faced enormous difficulty in receiving benefits that were so sorely needed. Businesses have had to adapt to requirements to keep their customers and employees safe while seeing their income fall. Annual events that have become traditions over decades here in Boulder City were canceled in order to contain the spread of the virus. Memorial Day, the 4th of July, Art in the Park, the Electric Light Parade are some of those events we treasure to remember others and to enjoy seeing family and friends. Children have not been in classrooms for a year of schooling. Parents have faced challenges in coping with the changes that has brought about. We are all fatigued by the burdens this virus has placed on us. But I have seen people step up to meet the challenges in so many ways. This has always been a strength in this community, the willingness to reach out to others and extend the helping hand. There are so many people to thank for their work in dealing with this crisis. I want to begin by recognizing the efforts of our city staff, who have taken on additional tasks while continuing to see our city function. This has truly been a team effort. In March of last year, the city, along with many communities in Nevada and around the country, started taking steps to mitigate the impact of COVID-19. The response here included activation of the Emergency Operations Center in coordination with Clark County operations. Merely months into his job, Chief Will Gray became the voice who leads staff through the guidances issued by the state and county. Chief Gray and his staff worked with Southern Nevada Health District and Boulder City Hospital to secure free community testing. More than 5,000 tests have been completed by the fire department to identify the spread of the virus. Improvements continue to be made in testing with the use of a rapid test that provides results in less than 30 minutes. For many months, Boulder City maintained low rates for the infection. Residents took care to keep safe and follow the recommended guidelines. Unfortunately, the percentage of positive tests has increased sharply over the past several weeks. That has also resulted in more people losing their lives to this terrible disease. Acting City Manager Michael Mays developed a local volunteer corps for Neighbors Helping Neighbors. Several dozen volunteers called every household in Boulder City to ask if residents were okay or to help direct them to resources. Police Chief Tim Shea, Public Works Director Keegan Luttrell, Utilities Director Dennis Porter, Michael Mays and other directors and managers worked in coordination with our regional partners to respond to the pandemic. Paul Sikora, the city's purchasing manager, and Tammy McKay, the city's deputy clerk, assisted in weekly donation drives collecting household staples for local organizations to send to those in need. Roger Hall and Julie Calloway from Parks and Recreation prepped for a possible surge, readying locations for triage of patients, which fortunately was not needed. Parks and Rec scheduled testing to provide a consistent method to residents. And Communications Manager Lisa LaPlante issued several regular news items and shared resources, as well as teamed up with digital technician Holly Webb to prepare videos, sharing news and resources to the community. A web page was developed to maintain important and current information for the community. With the work of Diane Pelletier and her staff in the Finance Department, the City Council was able to approve and disseminate CARES Act funds to help emergency aid, the Senior Center, and local businesses. The work of our representatives in Congress has provided an unprecedented level of support. While not all needs have been met, the tireless work of Senators Catherine Cortez Masto, Jackie Rosen, and Representative Susie Lee have allowed us to help in several ways. Rafi Festetian worked with local businesses on the grant process, as well as making sure businesses had accurate information on state guidelines. More than $200,000 in assistance has been provided to our local businesses, and the City Council moved to increase assistance to residents to more than $250,000. This money has helped in the delivery of meals to seniors, and assistance for housing and utilities was provided by the great work that the emergency aid volunteers made happen on very short notice. Just these two efforts represent a third of the money the city received from the CARES Act. Congress has now extended the time the city can further put this money to work. Funds were also provided to tutoring and child care. I thank Councilmember Tracy Folda for her efforts in reaching out to groups in town for these needs, and I know she will be reaching out to improve the support from the city for these programs. And I intend to see that we continue helping our residents and businesses with these funds. The city has incurred many costs that will need to be addressed, but our residents will be the priority in the use of these funds. The funds are not unlimited, and not every need can be met, but we will see the money goes where the needs are greatest while we have it. The list goes on for all the efforts to lessen the impact of the pandemic. From the staff in the utilities billing area helping connect residents with resources, to public works staff that ensured the community testing was set up efficiently, to the custodians who have worked hard to sanitize surfaces in public buildings. I join the council in sharing appreciation for the efforts of our city staff. Thank you to our first responders, healthcare workers, and those working at our senior facilities. And special thanks to all the volunteers who devote so much to our nonprofit organizations. Fearless, or at least showing that they were fearless, they work countless hours, even while concerned for their safety, as well as the safety of their family members. They sacrificed their own well-being to make sure our community was cared for. Thank you to the frontline workers, police officers, grocery store employees, pharmacies, those reporting the news, serving in our restaurants, collecting the trash, keeping our needed utilities and infrastructure safe and effective. While some people were able to work from home, you all were out there making sure we did not go without. I want to especially thank the students, parents, and teachers for their efforts. Kitchen tables have been turned into classrooms. Teachers have worked to learn how to educate from the confines of a small screen. The graduating class of 2020 had a drive-by parade rather than the traditional ceremonies. Time and treasured memories have been lost to this pandemic. From all appearances, a reset in the education of our children will be needed in the years to come due to the time that has been lost. In the face of all these burdens and challenges, there were successes during 2020. These successes will help our community come back from all the setbacks sooner and hopefully better. The Boulder City Parkway project is the largest public works project for this city in many years. The project has made the entry into our community more welcoming, in addition to increasing safety and promoting accessibility for residents. The $18 million project was funded by the Regional Transportation Commission with fuel taxes that are shared among all the cities in Southern Nevada. We benefit by being part of Southern Nevada while preserving our goals and supporting efforts on a regional basis. There was substantial progress on improving and maintaining our utility systems. A project that had been put off for many years that provides backup and stability for the electric grid is now complete. Upgrades for electric transformers to current standards have been done at a pace not seen in the past. Additional projects will further improve our utilities, are planned that will result in providing needed jobs as well. These projects were completed or will be completed at the same time that the elimination of automatic increases in power bills was repealed as I had requested. The increases were clearly unnecessary, as are other charges that residents have been recommended to pay in the future. I believe we will be lowering our utility bills in the near future while we continue improvements that are needed as recommended by the current rate study. This will be done at the same time as we have refinanced debt in the utility fund, resulting in the savings of millions of dollars. Our municipally owned utility system has always been for the benefit of our residents, and I will continue to focus on seeing that the systems are maintained and improved as needed while providing the greatest value to our residents. The finances for our city are now more transparent to our residents with the implementation of the Socrata software. That allows residents to view payments by the city and produce reports if they desire. Transparency has been further improved by having all city council, commission, and committee meetings live streamed to the public and made available on YouTube for viewing at a later time. We are making progress as well towards preserving our history in the American story. The preservation of this history is important to the economic success of this community as well as the soul of this community. We are the home of Hoover Dam, and that is an important story that needs to be preserved through the design of our city and the architecture of our buildings. A primary reason I ran for election to our city council and then as mayor was to see our city history preserved. That history is vital to this community. I moved to rescind the position of a historic preservation officer before the position was implemented because I did not believe our city of 16,000 people could afford such a permanent position. The alternative was that appropriate experts would be brought in on short-term contracts and evaluate the needs that we have for preservation efforts. Projects are being implemented to complete this goal as we work on ways to preserve the elements that make this city such a great place to live. The next phase will then be how to put that information to work that benefits homeowners and businesses alike. I will look for ways for the city to promote preservation and allow property owners to increase the value of their property while contributing to the preservation of our history. In my view, this city has provided little more than lip service to historic preservation in the past. Preserving our history is what makes this community such a special place. As a native of Boulder City, I want to see the soul of this community preserved for the betterment of all of us. Money has been budgeted to begin stabilizing one of the true gems in our community, the water filtration plant. This is the building where the first use of water from the Colorado River for our city began in southern Nevada. The money is from the redevelopment agency, and the purpose of that agency is to alleviate blight. I can't think of a more important place to put money from that fund to work than in that building. I do believe we will build back better in the coming year. The past year has been a crisis for our city and America. People have lost their livelihoods and suffered losses in so many ways. While the response from Congress was greater in terms of the money provided in any other time in our history, it did not reach every need when needed. The money that was provided for smaller communities like Boulder City was delayed by Clark County and reduced the time to more effectively use the money. Changes in the law will help us better utilize the money that has been made available in the next several months. Our city finances remain strong due to the land that we have available to lease for solar energy projects. We have not been forced to lay off employees or cut their hours while asking more of them. That is far different from other cities and counties in Nevada and around the country. I have insisted that we be very cautious in the projects we undertake to ensure the financial health of the city, and at the same time that we are in better financial conditions than so many other cities and towns in Nevada. Residents of Boulder City established the desire to be conservative in the growth of our community 4 decades ago. That has proven to be a strength of our community. The loss of jobs in the community was less than Clark County overall, and the continuing recovery has been better. I do understand that there are those that are still suffering, but we do better as a community than others due to our conservative growth and budgeting. I believe we are a sustainable community because of our conservative growth. While that conservative growth may not be welcomed by every person seeking wealth and advantage, it does sustain and protect this community. We see investment in this community even during a pandemic. Economics may argue against such investment at this time, but it is a clear indicator that we can grow within the framework of our city for the betterment of all of us. I will continue to work on efforts to bring economic development to this community that enhances our city without giving away our desires to keep our small town qualities. Changes in the officials appointed by the City Council have also been made in the past year. Such changes should never be taken lightly, and these were not. I believe council members weighed the necessity to make these changes carefully. The appointment of permanent officials for city manager and city attorney is moving forward with a national search that will include the well-qualified personnel we currently have on staff. The city is engaged in efforts to provide vaccines against the COVID-19 virus at this time. This will be a months-long effort. Healthcare experts have recommended guidelines for administering the vaccines, and the vaccines will be free of charge. I have already heard from some that more needs to be done and other people need to be moved to the front of the line. As I began this address, I mentioned the experience I'd had with the COVID-19 infection. I understand the severity of the disease. I have also seen the statistics on how unevenly the disease affects people. While it is clear that the older a person is, the more likely they may have serious health issues if they become infected. Those statistics also show people with underlying health conditions are similarly likely to suffer serious health issues. That is why those people are at the beginning of the process after taking care of our frontline healthcare workers and first responders. The reality is that not everyone can be at the front of the line. The further reality is that there are not enough doses available or the people to administer the doses to move everyone to the front of the line. Chief Gray has worked with county and state experts to develop a detailed plan for vaccination process here in Boulder City. It is an aggressive plan that seeks to take care of those most at risk first. There may be unforeseen problems that come during the next few months, but we are all dedicated to seeing our residents receive the vaccines as soon as possible. We should all work towards that goal. The time to rely on information from healthcare experts and scientists is now more than ever important to the process. We have seen too many tragedies over the months with unnecessary denials of the impact of this disease and how we could each be responsible in limiting the spread of it. We must continue to be responsible for our actions and understand that the crisis has not yet ended. I understand that businesses are suffering, but bringing on even more suffering is not the solution. The level of harm in this pandemic has been very uneven and cruel. We all must come to the understanding that the COVID-19 continues to be a serious threat to our community. Dramatic actions are being taken to bring this crisis to an end, but the end is not here now, and will require all of us to follow the guidelines until we are at the end of it. Please continue to be vigilant and responsible by wearing a mask and limiting person-to-person contact as much as possible. The state of our city at this time is that we continue to be under serious threat from a terrible disease. The fatigue and worry has placed real burdens on us. But we are seeing real progress in protecting our families, friends, and coworkers. Our efforts will allow us to move forward with a recovery much sooner. Our patience and determination will benefit us in the coming year. The future of our city will depend on how we deal with these next few months. I assure you our city government will be working hard to bring us out of this crisis. Please be safe, and let's work together in getting past this to a better future. We are still the best city by a damn sight, and we will overcome this. Thank you.